Hi, and welcome to the subtle art of defining your values and boundaries to manifest what matters most for you and your life. We're going to have some fun. We're going to shuffle a lot of stuff around in our brain. So if your brain hurts at the end of this, that's okay. It's probably a good thing. We're going to look in different areas of our life, what values we have, and how we're going to use those values to create sustainable boundaries. Which I wish I'd known about 40 years ago, but nevertheless, if you see me looking around, I am being attentive. I've just got a lot happening in other screens that I have to take note of for questions. I've got some people that are just listening because they don't have the video. So I've got to be super aware of what's happening. So my brain might even hurt towards the end of it. So welcome to Hope Valley. Welcome to Wales, Northern Ireland, Kalgoorlie. I hope I said that right, Anna. Kalgoorlie, we've got Mildura, Broken Hill, California. Welcome. Oh, and we can't forget Sydney, and Terry's joined from Ohio. Okay, we've got a lot happening. So I want to get straight into it. Remember, it's interactive. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. And I'm pretty sure my microphone is showing that it's moving into the green bits so we can hear, or you can hear what we need to. Okay, so thank you for being here. Let's get on with it. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can move into this wonderful masterclass where you are going to take home some super valuable information that will give you practices that will last a lifetime. So once again, from wherever you are in the world, thank you for being here to the subtle art of defining your values and boundaries to manifest what matters most. So get ready to focus. No distractions. This is for you. So please put your phone away unless you're watching it on the phone. Close down the other tabs that might be distracting you, like I'm just doing now, because it's time to create, or for you to discover more about how easy it is to manifest more of what matters most to you and your life and what you want to create. So I want this experience to be as interactive as possible. Even for those watching the replay, please remember to send through your questions. If your questions pop up during the live, just take note of the time, or I think on YouTube you're going to discover that there is a place where you can post some questions. So it's super rare these days that you even get time to give something your undivided attention, but you're here for a reason. I want you to make sure that you're able to focus on the training, and I really appreciate the time, taking the time, making the time, sparing the time to join us. So let's do this. Please take a nice deep breath. I'm all about the breathing and getting into this space as we move into something I like to do with every single one of my masterclasses and my webinar is to do an end bonus. So I know if you've joined my other webinars, you would have already seen them. You already might have taken me up on the offer. So stay until the end. And at the end, your bonus is going to, I didn't scratch my nose because I'm lying, because that could be a body language thing. It's, if you stay till the end, I'm going to offer you a deeper experience with me. And that's where the special gift comes in. So we all like getting presents. Everything I'm going to share with you tonight is equally as important, and it's critical to finding your values and creating those boundaries, because we want them to align with your life. Because once in alignment, you can manifest what matters the most. So it's super important to stay to the end, so you can get the full picture and the tips I'm going to share. So what I'm offering you at the end is I'm going to post a link where you can get instant access to a bonus value, more categories of the values, and a 30-minute one-on-one session with me to dive deeper into your values and talk more about those healthy boundaries and alignment for your life. So the other categories are, there's life, which is one of the most important ones, I feel. Relationships, your preferred purpose, which is your career or your work. Family, health and fitness, personal growth, and your spirituality. So give me a hands up who's staying till the end. And we should be about an hour and 10 or 15 minutes, if it depends on how many questions. So thanks, Patricia, staying till the end. Awesome. Like I said, get a notepad and pen, because it's interactive and I want you to write it down. So if you write it down, it means you're remembering it twice. Awesome. Nicola's staying, Mum's staying as always. Thank you, Kathy, Anna, Grace. Awesome. All right. So even if you're here at the end, just go with it. So nice deep breath and let's go. So this is my promise to you. Okay, I'm just going to lower your hands. By the end of the training, I'm going to show you how to not only discover your values, but elicit them as well. So we're uncovering your self-worth, and we're going to create those healthy boundaries that align. And when they align, it's easier to manifest. It's easier to make them happen because they're in your mind. And what's in your mind, you can create them moving forward. It's going to help you to feel empowered and inspired to be able to tackle your life's intentions or goals, whatever you like to call it. So we're going to determine your values so you can stop doubting yourself and trust your intuition and finally feel confident, inspired, and in control of your life. We're going to find a simple way to get off that people-pleasing train and define your boundaries. And then we're going to share the secret sauce to finally being able to feel confident about trusting those intuitive thoughts, feelings, emotions, and being able to say no without feeling guilty or worrying about what the other person's feeling, because we don't like to let people down. So we're going to specifically discover why what you've been doing for all these years to get the respect you deserve hasn't worked. And instead, I'm going to walk you through what does. Because imagine being able to skip over like all the Googling about boundaries and values and seeing what's worked and what doesn't work, and then you're just getting confused and overwhelmed. I'm going to share techniques and practices that I use with my one-on-one clients, and they certainly change lives, and they certainly help them to become more empowered and more intuitive about their own things. So their premonition and their instinct all comes forward as well once you know what you want. So hands up if that feels good. Let me know. Does that feel good to you? Because we're going to dive deeper, and I would like to know if you can relate to any of this. So are you tired? Thanks, ladies. Are you tired? Think about these things. Are you tired of trying, and this happens to all of us time and time again, to stop letting people use you as a doormat, even when they know your life's full of, you're doing so much for everybody else? When do you get time for you? Are you fed up of saying no when you saying yes, when you really want to say no? Are you struggling to keep those emotions down and shutting out the guilt, the anger, the frustration, the sadness, because you know that they know and you feel you deserve to be treated better, acknowledged a little bit more, I think. I use the term using people as a doormat, or taking advantage of their good nature. So if you're tired of trying to do everything to please everyone else to avoid that conflict as well. I have a few clients that say, I can't speak my mind, I'm worried about the consequences. Now, these are grown women that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that can't speak out because they're worried about the consequences. And that to me is really super sad. Can you relate to these? Sick and tired of trying to stick to those decisions and make up excuses. Like, we run out of excuses. We can only have gastro so many times, or you can only have that cold so many times, because we're making up excuses just so we can have time to do what we want to do. You know, feeling under pressure to say yes, and then underappreciated because nobody's really got any idea of what you've got planned because they're not worried about that. Do you feel like sometimes it's too much and it gets overwhelming, and the self-sabotaging thoughts that keep saying yes, and you're going, no, I don't want to say yes. I really want to have this time to myself. I've started this great book. I want to read it, you know. What about feeling used, unloved, unheard, and just over it because nothing's worked out for you when you say no? People, you either get the look or the feeling or the why not? Well, at the end of the day, it's really not anybody's business why you say no. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to not have to conjure up excuses, because those in themselves are sometimes lies, white lies, whatever you want to call them. But if we've got the programming or the conditioning that lying is bad, you're going to feel really super guilty about that as well. So then it goes around and round. Who's making us feel guilty? Is it our own beliefs, or is somebody else projecting that onto us? So can you relate to any of those? Anyone? Hands up. Hands up. Who can relate? Message. Which one can you relate to? Like, it's so crazy that to think that we're letting these things happen for us. Yeah, so many of you can relate to those. Well, guess it's not your fault. Okay. If you're nodding your head in agreement with any of those points, I promise you I'm not a stalker, because basically I've done all those things. And I promise you, whatever it is that you're doing and it's not working, it's not your fault. If the excuses, whatever, bring all those feelings up. And, you know, it's really hard to know who is right and who to trust. And if you feel anything like I did back then, I made heaps of excuses to not do something so I could just have time to myself. I'd go, no, actually, I can't do that. And then I'd feel so guilty. I'd ring back and say, yes, because the guilt took over. You know, some of my clients keep saying yes to avoid the conflict. And over time, you know what that's going to do? You're just going to get annoyed, pissed off. It's going to create bitterness, frustration, and anger, and lots of other unwarranted emotions. So this is where it starts. We've got to stop this pattern, this conditioning now, because it's not your fault. Just have to resonate that with you, okay? It's not your fault. So take a nice deep breath. Sometimes being given permission to say it's not your fault, it's not my fault, just releases some anxiety and guilt as well. So I just wanted people to stop taking advantage of my good nature. And I always felt that if I wasn't doing something for others, wasn't being of service to others, that I was a bad person. And it wasn't like I didn't like helping out. It just felt that I had no time for myself. And then I'd feel guilty, selfish, for even wanting that time for myself. I didn't respect myself enough to honor my values and create boundaries. And, this photo was me at a time when I just didn't know what to do. And nature and music was my only savior. This is a massive tree at the back of my house, and I go and hug it. I put my earphones in and I just listen to music to pick me up. I would get anxious all the time if someone said, "What are you up to on the weekend?" Just out of a question, "What are you up to on the weekend?" I was like, are they going to ask me to do something? Was I going to get asked to do something for them? Or was I going to get asked to do something that I might not even want to do? Because I knew, like Jim Carrey couldn't lie, I couldn't say no. Even if I was asked to do anything that included going out to have fun, which is things that I like to do, I would still get that churning and that anxious feeling, because I didn't have time and I wanted time for me. And it's like the balance. Do I go out with friends socializing, or do I stay home and then get FOMO because I'm missing out and I want to go out with my friends? It was really crazy. And it was weird because I was the one that had the belief system that I couldn't say no. It was me, totally me. I felt unworthy and I had low self-esteem. I didn't know that at the time, but I had lots of guilt. I didn't know my value, and I didn't obviously value myself, because if you don't know your values, you can't value yourself. And then it's really hard to expect others to give you those values that you're seeking. So does anyone else feel like that? I'd love you to tell me in the comments if you're struggling with the same sort of thing or something similar, because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's been going through this and doing more harm than good, because I always thought I was doing the right thing. So does anyone else feel like that? I'll give it a few moments for people to respond in the chat. Anyone else feel like that? Or a particular part of it? What's a particular part that you feel like? Right, Grace, you feel guilty for saying no? Yes. It's a biggie. Guilty for saying no, guilty for the consequences, guilty or anxious because you don't know what someone's going to ask you. That's wrong. It's like I got to the point of saying, well, who's asking? Why? What are you doing? And I get all into that back step or that defensive space. So let's have a look through the comments here. Yeah, the guilt. Yeah, youngest of 8 children. If I don't ring people, they don't ring me. Yeah. So you're expected to do all of that work. And then if you don't do it, you feel guilty. And then the consequences of not doing that. Yeah, it is super frustrating. I get that. So thanks for sharing that as well. Look, I've been trying to find solutions for lots of things to help me to be able to say no without guilt or feeling like I had to continually do stuff for others, and I'd even offer to do something that I wasn't asked to do and then go, what the fuck, what was I thinking? And then I'd try to get an excuse to get out of it and I couldn't. And then I'd feel my energy go, I'd feel my energy go flat, and you'd go, and no matter how hard I tried to put that mask on, yeah, I'm here, I'm doing it, that's good. People could tell that I didn't really want to be there and didn't want to be doing what I was doing. And, you get caught out. Like somebody would say, oh, can you help me move house on the weekend? Yeah, sure. One of the worst things I hate doing is moving house or moving furniture or anything like that. And then I'd go and I'd just try and get out of it somehow. Or, oh, I've got to go and help somebody else. So we're always making excuses to try and, get out of shit, which is really not good. And it was because I had no idea of what mattered most to me. I had no self-respect and I didn't know what I valued in life. I didn't know what I wanted. The stuff money can't buy. That's what it's about. You do that a lot, Nicola? Yeah. You put your hand up and you go, oh, what am I doing? Actually, no, I don't want to do that. Oh, caught out so many times. I get it. So one day, I had a dream that inspired me to take action. And this was it. It was time to dream. And it's time to dream for you now. So take a nice deep breath for me. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the confident you saying no without fear, without worrying about somebody else's feelings for a change. Think about what would be your dream to be able to do or not do, say no to. Tell someone they're out of alignment with your values. Tell someone they've overstepped your boundary. Tell someone to F off. Write it down. This is what matters most to you. Tell me just in the comments which scenario is the one you really want. Which one of these best describes why you showed up today? Okay. Do you want to be able to say no without the guilt? Feel confident, think positively about yourself and knowing it's okay to do things for yourself. Really breathe these in. Do you want to not doubt yourself and confidently move forward without the guilt or the need to make excuses, because they do run out? You want to stop worrying about what effect your decision has on other people. Are they going to be angry at me? Are they going to be pissed off? Have I been caught out? Because really, I just want to Netflix or stay in my jammies all day and do nothing all day. Have I been caught out? Breaking free from that anxiety and second guessing yourself when you've said no. Do you want a clear conscience? Feeling confident and being able to speak out. Say no. Say you've stepped over my boundary, or I don't like the way you're speaking with me. Can you use a different tone? Have I misheard? Is that tone really what you're aiming at for me? We need to have confidence to be able to protect ourselves from these things. And for if we have children, which is coming up later, for those around us. So feelings of freedom, this is the dream, feelings of freedom from overwhelming emotions, the conditioning and the limiting beliefs you have about yourself that have held you back from manifesting more of what matters for you because you've been doing everything for everyone else. How awesome. This is the dream. This is what happens when you discover your values and manifest your healthy boundaries in alignment with what you want. So this is what happened. I had the dream, and then this is who I am now. For those that don't know me, this is me. I consider myself to be a keeping it real life inspirer. No airy fairy. When it comes to transformation, I keep it real. There's no airy fairy. Let's get stuff done. No, you've got to get dirty and face the shadows head on. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I've done all the work and I've tweaked it to be more user-friendly. And I'm sharing how I started to value myself, my time, and created sustainable boundaries without the guilt, the shame, being annoyed or pissed off, to find out what matters most to me. And boy, it's liberating. But before I go any further, this is who I am. Formally introduce myself. I'm Chrissy. I'm an author. And this all happened after I decided and made a few changes and created some boundaries. I became an author. I'm a professional life inspirer and the founder of the Finding Your Peaceful Mind Path online program. I support mainly women. There has been a few guys, but it's mainly women who struggle with that self-sabotaging mind chatter, anxiety, and overwhelm. And I do it without spending hours a day meditating, exercising, drinking my life away anymore. I do it without using traditional therapies. So I'm also a Grammy. So let's talk about how this all happened. This all happened because I made a decision. There was no plan B. I had to make it happen for myself, because we all know that at the end of the day, we're the only ones that can make the change. But then it's your choice. At the end of the day, all success is predicated on you making that decision. I chose to create the change because I knew that I was serving from that empty pot, and thought about what I was actually serving, because at the bottom of the pot's going to be all the dregs and the crap. And what was I really doing? Was I doing anyone any favors, or was I just avoiding the conflict? Usually there was none. So it was my own feelings of guilt and defensiveness that crept in. But it was something that we are conditioned to feel. If we're not doing something for somebody else, you don't do something for yourself. It's not right. It takes women who have been brought up in a space where the woman's always doing everything for everybody else. It takes us a long time to discover that it is okay to do some stuff for ourselves. So today's a new day for you guys and for myself. And like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. And that's when this intuitive thought came out of the blue. This was just when I started my business in 2012. My mind chatter made the clearest statement ever. You have to stop looking after everybody else. And one day I discovered through all of the trial and error that I wasn't a bad person for wanting to be happy or feel good about myself and my life, or for not wanting to continue to be with the people pleasing, or thinking that I wasn't strong enough to say no. I just discovered that none of those things were normal or helpful for anyone. And I figured out that I, in fact, like I mentioned, didn't value myself. And once I started to address the self-worth and the values and the boundaries and find out what matters most to me, everything changed. And I want to share how I did that with you, so you can skip over the trial and error, because there is a simpler way to say no without guilt and manifest what matters for you. So one day my need to support everyone shifted to a need to support me. And when that was achieved, I lost my need and just allowed. I actually let go. I let go of worrying about what other people thought. I let go about, well, if I say no, what are going to be the consequences? So what? You're going to be crappy with me for a few days, or I'm going to feel guilty for a few days. I'm going to get over it. So type yes in the comments if you want a simpler way to do things. Put your hand up, type yes in the comments, because have your paper and pen handy, my friends, because here we go. We're getting right into the nitty-gritties now. Who's ready for that simpler way? Yes, awesome. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Thank you for that. Put your hands up. Who's ready? Because I want us all to be ready. I want us all to be ready to make these changes, and you're here for that particular reason. So yes, awesome. I take a bit of time because I know there's a bit of a time lapse with some computers, especially mine. Sometimes it gets a little slow up in the hills here. So awesome. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So let's do this. Let's find our values. Love the Oprah quote. When you know better, you do better. And yes, you're ready. It takes us a while. I think sometimes we're a bit off, we get a bit slow off the mark because we do love helping people. And this doesn't mean that we stop helping people. This just means that we help people within our boundaries, and it gives us more energy back because, you know, when we're serving from that empty pot, like I mentioned, what are we actually serving? What are we actually serving? The dregs from the bottom. And people aren't silly. They can pick up on our vibes. So, discovering your values, what you want in your life now, not what you've been conditioned to believe you want. There's a difference. You might have been told that, you might have been told about values, but you might have also been conditioned to other people's values. And now that you know a little bit more, or you're going to know a little bit more, you can create your own values. So values are what you move toward and away from. And Tony Robbins says they're like a compass that directs your life. Values can motivate you or they can demotivate you, and they justify behaviors. So not being able to say no can actually, you know, create a lot of barriers for you saying no to a lot of things that could be good for you as well. So a value is not only a conceptual idea, it's related to that inner state or that experience. So values are different qualities of inner experiences. And some examples of values could be love, honesty, peace, integrity, creativity, joy, openness. And it's a personal criterion. It's your personality. The very first time I discovered my values, I thought I got them wrong. Okay, I was in a room full of people and their values were coming out, all of those: love, honesty, peace, integrity, communication, abundance. My top two values were adventure and spontaneity. Don't get me started, but I love adventure and spontaneity, and some of the practices you're going to do are going to help you to discover some that you might have forgotten about, because as we move forward in life, we leave a lot of stuff behind. We leave a lot of good experiences behind, a lot of good feelings, because they get buried underneath us. So we're going to use our values as that compass that directs our life. And we're going to go for the values that motivate us, not demotivate us, okay? So we want the things that make us feel good. We're going to move into the practice. You know, what are some of your values? Do you know any of your values? This is where we learn how to determine your values so that you can stop doubting yourself. We're going to trust your intuition and finally feel confident, inspired, and in control. So I was always waiting for the change to just automatically happen. Maybe people will stop asking me to do stuff. Maybe people will start to pick up after themselves. Maybe someone will change the toilet roll. Maybe they will change. Maybe my boss will see that I'm tired and take some of my workload. Maybe tomorrow will be different. Let's ditch the maybe and start to value ourselves in our lives. It's all good and well to support others, but carrying their load whilst you've got your own stuff to deal with actually makes you consciously unavailable. So you're not really there. You're actually thinking about all the things you could be doing or you want to do for yourself, and then getting annoyed because you're with someone else or you're doing something for somebody else. Can anyone relate to that? Yes. So why do we keep trying to do more for others when we can barely do shit for ourselves? Like, if you're feeling anxious, guilty, angry, bitter, resentful, overwhelmed, or stressed, It's our body's way of telling you you are doing too much, or you're going against what your soul actually wants you to do, your energetic self wants you to do. And we just keep shutting them down out of fear or whatever other thoughts or beliefs, conditionings that come into our heads. Okay, this is what stops us, our beliefs that we're not worthy, we can't say no. If we say no, we're being lazy and all those other sorts of things. So before we get into this, you might have been told some of these. Can you relate to these? You might have been told that money's the root of all evil. So you feel guilty if you make a good income and can afford things that other people in your family may not be able to, or your friendship circle can't. I had a client that came to see me, was very anxious about going away on a holiday with her husband because her family couldn't afford a holiday, but they'd saved and they could. And she felt guilty about these things. It's time to stop feeling guilty about your successes. You might have been told that if you eat watermelons, eat watermelon seeds, you grow a watermelon in your belly. You get my drift? They're conditioned beliefs that others have planted in our minds. And we base our values around our beliefs and thoughts. So take, for example, you never sit down because you're running around doing things that other people want you to do. So one of your values create that scenario. One of the values that create that scenario is if you have to work hard. You believe if you have financial difficulties because you don't work hard enough. So you keep pushing yourself until the day you die, basically from lack of what matters most. How can you value yourself when the conditioning is so overwhelming? Give me a high five. Can you relate to those? Send me through one of your beliefs that you center a value around in the chats. Because if you can relate to these, you really need to change and should want to change some of these values and boundaries. Yes, absolutely. You don't sit down because you're running around doing stuff for everybody else. And it ends up that everyone else's house is neat and tidy, and then I don't feel like doing my own. So it's like, whatever. So let's change all of this and do something that matters for you and is in alignment with you. Okay. So a value is something you can't live without. These things are priceless, they're not materialistic, and they cannot be put in a box. So there's many categories for your values, not just your life values. I spoke about them earlier, but for all intents and purposes, tonight we're going to be working on your life values. So in your notebook, I want you to draw a line down the middle of the page, probably about 5 to 10 lines down, and number each line one. We're going to work on the top 5. So do 1 to 5, but if you come up with any more, that's all great. So I'll give you a second to do that. Right, that's a belief, isn't it? There was no point in going to university if you're going to be a stay-at-home mum. And so therefore we draw back and we go, okay then, and we forget that then we have children and then life goes ahead, but you can still do whatever it is you want to do at some stage. Okay. So we're going to work on the top 5 life values, and we've got the 2 columns. So the column on the right is the top life values, and the column on the left is the top life values. The column on the right is going to be after we elicit them. Okay, so we're going to do a nice mindful practice here that you'll be able to continue to do through the other categories and through your other values. So I want you to take a nice deep breath. I want you to just take a moment, because we're going to invite the mindfulness process in so that we can invite our intuitive self in. All right. So we're going to write down the first 5 things that you can't live without, something that can't be put in a box like a pet or a child, a car or a house. These are things more valuable than that. They're things money can't buy. So get ready, relax, take a deep breath and listen to my words. I want you to stare at this picture. I want you to find just one thing to stare at and don't take your eyes off it. Each time you exhale, I want you to stare into that space, whatever it is you're looking at. And I want you to expand your awareness. So now, through your peripheral vision, you can see a little bit more than what you're just staring at. You might see the edge of your computer. You might see more of the picture. Keep staring into that space. And I want you to send your thoughts to the most relaxed part of your body and allow that feeling to flow all through the rest of your body. As we expand our awareness, I want you to listen. You might be able to hear a few things external of you. Really expand your awareness, taking some nice deep breaths. Keep staring and staring and staring into that picture at that one particular thing. And when you're ready on your next exhale, just allow your mind's eye to open and close your eyes. And I want you to think about all the things that matter to you most. Things that you really want in your life. You might think of families, friends, relationships, home. What are those feelings? What's important to you? Breathe in to those feelings and ask yourself, what value do these things bring to my life? What values do these things bring into my life? Friendship, love, joy, surprise, loyalty, fun, spontaneity. What do these things bring into your life? The positive things that are coming into your life. These are your values. What do you value? Remember, it can't be materialistic. These are the things that money cannot buy. And when you're ready and in your own time, I want you to take a nice deep breath. Open your eyes slowly. Look at your notepad and write down the first 5 things, or as many as you can get. I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to do that. Allowing those thoughts to just flow. What do you value? What do you want more of in your life? What's important for you? Okay. Okay. Write down in the first column. Like some of you might have 2 things. Some might have 5, 8, 10. Tonight we're working on the top 5. Let me know in the chats. What did you come up with? Take a breath. What did you come up with? Did you come up with anything that you didn't expect to come up with? Togetherness and connection. Awesome. Love that. Togetherness and connection. What else came up? Loyalty and honesty. Everyone's will be different. What are some of them things that you came up with? Communication, trust. Yes. Awesome. So take a nice deep breath, because you've just found what's important. Support. Love it. Yes. Who doesn't want support in their life? Who doesn't want loyalty, honesty, connection? What else is there? All these wonderful things. So you found your top life values, but they're not in a particular order yet. We've allowed our intuitive self to say, I want more support, I want loyalty, I want honesty, I want community, I want trust, I want togetherness, I want connection. And we've allowed ourselves to actually hone in onto that energetic part of us that's saying, yes, we want more of this. Awesome. That's awesome. I hope you feel really good about that. It's really quite humbling to find out what you want more about in your life. And, you know, these are things you have to be willing to give to yourself as well. So if you want togetherness and connection, connect with yourself. Once you connect with yourself, it's easier to connect with others, because we're finding out what you like and what you don't like. And this is what's going to create those boundaries. If you want loyalty, are you being loyal to yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? Do you communicate clearly with yourself? Do you trust yourself? Okay. So remember, if you want these values in your life, you must be willing to give them to yourself. Okay, so now in that next column, we're going to elicit our values. Whilst we're in this nice, peaceful, mindful space, we're going to elicit these. Now, this is a way of really getting to what matters most, what's most important. And this part is a little tricky, so please listen, right? We're going to ask a question. Just listen for now, and then we're going to do the exercise, okay? So the question's going to be, is my number one value more important than my number two value? But instead of saying the number, I want you to say the value. For example, if you have your number one value is respect, you say, is respect more important than communication? If you say yes, then you go to the next one. Is number one more important than number three? Yes. Is number one more important than number four? And then all of a sudden you go, actually, no. Number four is more important to me. And that moves up to the top. And then you say, is number four more important than number five? And if it's not, you go, right, that's my number one value. And you cross it off the left list. And then you start again with number two. Is number two, or you start at number one again. Or yes, this gets a bit tricky to explain when I'm not actually doing it with someone. So you just go down the list asking that until you've crossed them all off and you've got them on the other side of your list. I hope that that was understandable. Okay. So you keep moving through them. Is number one more important than two? Number one more important than three? Number one more important? Yes, awesome, thanks. That feedback's great, Patricia. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you a few moments to go through that. Just asking yourself the question, is that more important than that? Is that more important than that? Because that's how you elicit your values, getting right up to the top, and your list might stay the same or it may change. Okay, keep going through until you have your top 5 in order. I'm going to give you a few minutes to go through that. So if anyone's stuck or has any questions about that, you've got a few minutes now to just type a message in there for me. Okay. And remember, you have a link if you stay till the end to have that one-on-one consult with me to elicit your values. Put any questions in the chat box. Keep moving through until you discover your number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 top values. Remember to keep breathing, nice deep breaths. Right. I'm just reading your message, Nicola. Okay. All right. Nicola, you can go a little bit deeper into that by asking why. How to choose one. Ask yourself why. Why is family more important to me than communication? And then do the same. Why is communication more important to me than family? Family is a tricky one. Family can actually be put in a wheelbarrow. So I'd be thinking more closely is about what value is it that family gives you? What is the value? Is it security? Is it love? Is it the connection, the togetherness? So when people normally say to me that family is their top value, you can put your family in a wheelbarrow. So think about what it is that they actually give to you. And then that will be your top value. Does that make sense? Can you give me the thumbs up, Nicola? Or change family to a value. What is the value that family gives to you? Yeah, cool. Awesome. A few more seconds in that space and we're going to move on. So there was an example of the values. Look at them closely. And I want you to ask yourself, do you do all of those things for yourself? Do you respect your own values? Beautiful, Angela, yes. Connection, understanding, peace of mind, togetherness, and learning, yes. Awesome. Do you bring those? Do you respect your own values? I hope you don't mind, Angela, I'm going to use yours as an example. Do you connect with yourself? Are you giving yourself space to understand yourself? Do you give yourself space to create that peace of mind? Do you give yourself that time to be together with yourself, but also together with whatever it is that you want to be together with? And togetherness can mean the universe, nature, other people, whatever that is for you. And learning, do you afford yourself and invest in yourself and give yourself the opportunity for learning? So do you respect your own values? Yes or no in the chats? Because it's really important to respect your own values, because this is where the boundaries come in. A bit of yes and a bit of no. Awesome. But now that you know, you can start to incorporate more of that into your life. So all of your values, you have to be willing to give to yourself, because that's how we energetically project our boundaries. So if we talk about emotions like the guilt, the anger, the frustration, the happiness and joy, they are all energy. They push this beautiful barrier of energy out. If you'd like, it's your aura. I call it your auric energy. If you want to go into that spiritual side of things, it's your aura. And when we start to give all of these things to ourselves, our aura projects out, and people feel uncomfortable pushing through. Not all people. Some people will feel uncomfortable pushing into your space. And I'm sure each and every one of you have felt that discomfort when you've pushed into somebody else's space. You know, when you walk into a room, you can cut the air with a knife. That's energy. And then you find out the people in the room have had a big argument, but now they're putting on the happy face. That's energy. That's part of you believing in yourself, giving to yourself, valuing yourself, is creating those energetic boundaries that make it so much easier for us to protect them when we believe in them. So yeah, Grace is a yes. Awesome. Got so many screens happening here. Sonia, yes. Yes. Bit of no and a bit of yes. There's a few of a bit of yeses and a bit of no's. All right. Okay. So I am taking it that everyone's all good with that, because I'm going to move on now. We're going to move into the boundary part of it. So look, if you're not bringing your life values into your life, like I just said, now is the time to do so. All right? Because it's not your fault that you haven't been, because you don't know what you don't know, but now you do. So today is the day that change occurs. Okay? Yes, Patricia, need to give your values to yourself, because today is the day your transformation begins. Today, you decide you are worth it. Okay? You are worth it. Congratulations. Boo, boo. I would like you to post your values where you can see them every day. Get creative, paint it up, Canva it up if you're into Canva, make a vision board with the words on it, print yourself a poster, okay? Because I think it's really good that you guys are really understanding more about what they mean. Yes, you need to give them to yourself. They're your values, they're your life values. If you don't honor them or respect them, how can anybody else? Because they won't know what they are. Not all people are mind readers. We expect that they're going to know what they are because we're giving them to others. You can give others respect, connection, understanding, togetherness, communication, loyalty, honesty, and support. You can give that, and then you're going to get shitty when you don't get it back, because you've got to give it to you first. All right? And then once you start honoring yourself, it becomes, this is what's filling you up. Remember, we talked about serving from the empty pot. If you don't give to yourself what you've been giving to everybody else, you're serving from that empty pot. So giving it to yourself is replenishing. That's why creating time for yourself and that self-care is so important. All right. So nice deep breath for me. I really enjoyed going through that with you. It was pretty cool. So how excited are we about manifesting more of what matters? by creating those healthy boundaries. Oh, hands are going up left, right, and center. Awesome. Because that's what we're going to do right now. Remember, at the end, if you have struggled with this or you want some more guidance on it, please, please, please book that one-on-one call. I've opened up some space, got space tomorrow, and I've got space on Saturday. I've opened up some times. So when you get the links at the end, jump on or message me and we'll sort something out. All right. So I'm so happy for you all for being here, and let's get into the boundaries before I get all sucky. We're going to manifest more of what matters to you by creating those healthy boundaries. And you know what? It's okay to say no. It's okay, you know, to do stuff for yourself. So I just want to read the slide. Like, a person with healthy boundaries can say no to others when they want to, but they're also comfortable opening themselves up to intimacy and close relationships as well, because they know their boundaries. They're not trusting that they're going to get hurt or someone's going to do something that's really going to mess with their heads. A person who always keeps others at a distance, emotionally, physically, or otherwise, is said to have those rigid boundaries, the ones that you can't move through. So do you find yourself getting defensive when someone does or says something that doesn't resonate with you? Do you take things personally all the time? A few hands going up there. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really easy to do because you haven't had those boundaries or values before, but then all of a sudden we put them up and we're expecting people to be able to appreciate them straight away. It all takes time. If you've been defensive about things or taking things personally, it means you haven't had those boundaries. That's what we're talking about. You haven't had the boundaries to start with. So we're always moving back. I've got to defend myself. What are you saying? Like when I used to get asked, what are you doing on the weekend? Oh, no, you're making up all of these excuses before I even found out what it is that they were going to ask me. They might have just been saying, well, I want to shout you out for dinner or lunch. Do you want to come? It could have been something that was really, really going to be super cool for me. But I was already going, no, not doing it, because my expectation was that everyone was always going to ask me to do something for them. And I didn't have the energy, and I didn't want to have the energy, because I needed to look after me. I wanted to look after me. I wanted to get my headspace right, get out of the space where I was. So this is one of the, it wasn't the first thing I did, but it was a very important thing that I did. All right. So let's move on to creating these healthy, sustainable boundaries that are going to align with your values. Okay. We move into practice 2. Okay. How to manifest healthy boundaries so you can stop feeling guilty for speaking your truth. You can trust your intuition and finally feel confident, inspired, and in control of your life. Oh my gosh, I wish I knew what these were 40 years ago, because there's some boundaries we are taught from a young age, but they're mainly other people's boundaries. Like, that if you pressed your mum or your dad's triggers, we knew their boundaries because they'd get angry at us or get out of here, and all that sort of thing. So it was all about respect your elders type boundaries. And look, it was okay for them not to be kind or not to be nice. We might have had an energetic feeling about why we didn't like them, but we didn't know why. But we were told to have respect for them because that's what we're told, and that was just an expected boundary. And I believe that by not teaching our children or young people about these boundaries that they're allowed to have, that's when the unkind things start to happen to them, because they're not taught to honor their own values, their own space, their own boundaries, their personal boundaries. So for all of you watching this that have young people in your life, teach them what you are learning. Okay? So teach them what you are learning so that they can learn to protect themselves, not just when they're young, but when they become adults too, because it's going to be ingrained so much deeper. It's time to change the genetic conditioning and all the beliefs, the old beliefs that don't suit us anymore, and make way for future generations. Tell me, what's a boundary that you wish you had known at a young age? Share this in the comments. What is a boundary that you wish you had known at a young age? Because there is lots of talk about this now with young people, respecting their boundaries. Just want to know, what is a boundary that you wish you had known at a young age? Share in the comments. This is just before we move on to practice 2. Your parents people that had strong boundaries? I don't need a boy to like me to feel good about myself. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Because we all go through that stage that in order to feel loved, we're going to look from other people. You need to feel good about yourself. That's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. What are some of the other boundaries that you wish? Love yourself before you love others. Yes. It's okay to want your privacy. It's okay to, I don't know. I was brought up pretty well. I struggled with these sorts of things when I got older. One of the things was I did, and my mum's here, so it's okay to say I don't want a hug. That's right. So some of the things were that if you were having visitors, your house had to be spotless and tidy. That nearly drove me insane. So that boundary was I can't have my own space how I want it, just in case other people see it and they don't like it. So there's all these things that are brought up in us, but the people that gave us these beliefs and these conditions were brought up in that way as well. But it's our responsibility and our right to change them to align with our lives now and what we want now. So thanks for sharing those. Let's move into practice 2. Can you relate to any of these? I'll let you have a quick read of them while I move a few things out of the way because I can't see them. Your opinion doesn't matter. Sit down and shut up and hang on. That type of thing. What would you know you're a girl, or what would you know you're too young? Do as you're told. Like, this is teaching us to do as we're told, not what we're asked, not what we want to do, what doesn't feel comfortable. Like, it's okay to say no to a hug. Think about how you're making other people feel. Well, what about how that's making me feel? Right. Other people's needs come first. There's worse people off in the world from the news. Stop complaining. Get on with your work. Just do it. Do it my way or the highway. All these things that are so not healthy for us. These are the ways that some of the ways that we've been taught are boundaries, and that is that yours don't matter. We're brought up surrounded by the adults that may or may not have boundaries, and that's what we mimic. So if you're brought up with parents or someone that doesn't have strong boundaries and can't help you or teach you through those boundaries, well, you're not going to have any as an adult, because that's what we mimic. We either become the same as them, or we decide that no one's ever going to treat me like that, and we then create barriers. Now, barriers come from the defense mechanism. We take everything personally. We don't respond. We react, and we react to protect ourselves. And that's when the barrier comes up. When we try to keep our boundaries healthy to protect ourselves, from a reactive perspective, we get that anger, that bitter, that frustrated, and we can lose a lot of people close to us. And then we find ourselves being the doormat again, because then we get guilty, and to make up for it, we go and do things we don't want to do because we feel bad. So let's create some healthy alternatives. And yes. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm just reading some comments. Okay, Angela, not a problem. Yes, that's fine. You'll get a copy of the replay emailed to you. And all of these, I find myself saying these to my children at times too. So it's time to change. Hey, Nicola, it's time to create. It's our responsibility to create healthy alternatives. So let's get on with this. Values equal boundaries. What you value creates your boundaries, right? And these are priceless. They're not materialistic and cannot be put in a box. So each category of your values creates different boundaries. For example, your boundaries from work will be different to your boundaries at home. And this is why there has to be that flexibility in your boundaries, so that you don't create those barriers. You're not building up those walls, because once you build up that wall, imagine it, you're trying to communicate, it's not going to go through. So you're not going to be able to stick to any of them. And once again, don't be hard on yourself. Looking back on some of the values you commented on before, I'll give you some examples of what a healthy boundary looks like, okay? Because they are hard to sort of keep in place if you're on the back foot or you're always worried about what's going on. So take a look. We're going to use your values to create those healthy boundaries. So take a look back at your top values. If we go by the example that I shared earlier, we can use respect, because a few of you have respect as a top value. If respect is your top value, then firstly, before you create your boundary, you must give it to yourself and believe in yourself. If anyone is disrespectful to you, you get to decide whether to speak up about that, with them, or to walk away and, say, I don't want that person in my life anymore. They're too disrespectful. Once again, if this is a work colleague or someone at work that you have to deal with, then maybe a mediator to discuss why you find it disrespectful and how things are going to change. Because you need to be able to, you should want to be able to speak up, okay? This is an emotional boundary. You have every right not to accept being spoken to like a piece of crap, okay? And like I mentioned before, at the beginning, it's hard to honor these new boundaries because you haven't done it for yourself before. So you've got all that guilt, and then we've got the expectation that people are just going to get it. So you could start by saying, you could ask them to reframe it, or you could actually be blunt and say, I don't like how you're speaking to me or treating me. And that takes courage, because in some situations you could once again fall back into fearing the consequences. But if you're surrounded by anything that's detrimental to your physical, emotional, mental state of health, you need to change that. If you're scared, in fear, or worried that you are going to be hurt, then change is required. And I suggest you get support sooner rather than later, okay? But it's got to start somewhere. So let's look at communication. If it's a top life value, it means that you like to communicate, to sort through your problems or express emotionally through communication. Women like to communicate more than men verbally. So it's different. So a healthy boundary could be that if someone isn't willing to discuss something or sort something out with you or communicate with you, and you want to address it, find out how they communicate. Sometimes we have to push those boundaries in and out a little bit. We can't have it all our own way. but we can still respect our boundaries. We can still say, well, I would like to communicate with you about this. How's the best way to do that? Would you prefer to text me, write a letter, send an email? Because some people communicate differently. And if you indeed want communication, find out how you're going to get it and get it for yourself. If you can't get it, once again, this is where you choose whether you're going to hang out with that person anymore, whether you're going to keep going with the job that you're in because there is no communication. It's all about you understanding what it is that you want in your life and bringing it into your life and aligning it with those values. Okay, so this is where we choose who's in our circle, who's out of our circle. The ones that we have to be with through work or family or whatever, we choose to bend our boundary, but don't let them in that close. It's like there's layers of the boundary. 1 step, 2 step, no, now that's really doing it. And I use a thing called compassionate disassociation. It's like, no, that's it. And you don't have to do that to the person. You can actually visualize the person in front of you and go, no, I don't want that. I compassionately disassociate from you, your energy, and anything bad that you're going to send my way. Boof. And once your auric energy and your boundaries are set up, there's no getting through that. People just sense it. They go, oh, I'm not going to mess with her. It's almost like that resting, as they call it, is it the resting bitch face? It's almost like that. Oh, I'm not going to mess with her. So honor yourself, value yourself. These are some of the types of values that we should have, the 5 categories to manifest healthy boundaries. And this is noted by a holistic psychologist. And they're just some of the healthy boundaries and how to respond. You know, one of my big boundaries was around time and energy. So my kids, if I'm picking you up from somewhere, be there on time. My time is important. If you're running late and I need to know, please text me or message me. And I discovered that I actually did have boundaries, probably not enough, but, you know, I got more as I progressed through knowing what I wanted. So as you work through the different categories of your values in the areas that I mentioned, the relationship, preferred purpose, work, family, health, fitness, personal growth, you'll discover even more boundaries that you'll want to put in place. But there'll always be some that are already using, and it's about recognizing the triggers that happen when someone steps over those boundaries. So take note of how you respond or react. If you're reacting to a boundary being stepped over, there's a deeper healing that needs to be shifted so you can move through that. So, because sometimes it's hard to actually move through those boundaries. Okay. So this was an affirmation I wrote. I allow myself to set. No, I didn't write this one. What am I saying? I'm sorry. I nearly plagiarized myself then. I didn't write this one. A person called Lee Horbachewski wrote this one, and I really resonated with it. I allow myself to set healthy boundaries, to say no to what does not align with my values, to say yes to what does. Boundaries assist me to stay healthy, honest, and living in a life that is true to me. I resonated with that so much that I had to share it. So there it is. So healthy boundaries require healthy responses to the triggers. So if you're feeling deeply and unable to create healthy boundaries and stick to them, like I mentioned, there is something deeper. There's a root cause and a lot of beliefs surrounding your values and your boundaries. So you have to live by your values before you can expect others to respect them. And if your values create your boundaries, how can others begin to even understand yours if you're not clear about what they look like for you? So what's a boundary you've created today since we've been doing all this? What is a boundary that you have created today or that you want to create today? And I want you to think about what will stop me from honoring my values and manifesting my healthy boundaries? Ask yourself this question for each of your values and each of your boundaries, because knowing the answer to these questions will help you to create some scenarios in your mind that have happened in the past. But now, with your new mindset, you'll be able to play them out into your future. Okay? So, hands up, is everyone understanding how to create a healthy boundary? Like I always say, everything's like running a marathon. You've got to do the practices and the training first before you can run the marathon. Okay? So create healthy boundaries. Start by respecting your values, honoring your values. Then the boundaries come into play. So if loyalty is your top value, if someone's not being loyal to you, you get to choose whether you're going to accept that and dishonor your value, or whether you're going to go, no, you're not loyal to me and you're not supporting me, you're not helping me through my life. All those things. This is how we create our boundaries. What about support? If that's a top value for you, your boundary is, I like people surrounding me that are going to support me. They're going to help me to feel good, support me in all areas of my life. If there's people not doing that and people being disrespect about your values, you value it yourself and you're supporting yourself in manifesting and creating those healthy boundaries. Okay, so let's do a little mindful practice to support you through this, and then we are nearly done. So let's go back to our beautiful rock tower. Nice deep breath, because we're going to what I call future pace. We're going to get our mind and our body prepared for when we want to keep a healthy boundary. Okay, so I want you to stare at that rock tower where you were staring before. Nice deep breath. You'll find yourself going into this trance a lot quicker now. So stare at that space and keep staring at it. You might see things around you. You might hear noises around you. And I want you to think of one of your new boundaries that you've created that in the past you wouldn't have put it in place, but now you have this new boundary, you're going to put it in place. And I want you to create a scenario from the past. I want you to bring it into your future, so it's happening in your future. And with your new healthy boundaries, how do you handle that now? Take a moment. Create an experience that in the past you wouldn't have put your boundary in place, but now you have your boundary, you're going to put it in place. The scenario. How is that feeling to you? Do you feel stronger? Because of it? Let me know how you go in the comments, creating that future pacing. And that's something you can do with all your new boundaries and values. See yourself respecting your values. See yourself putting those boundaries in place in scenarios in your future. Take a nice deep breath and slowly come back to the room, come back to the space. So how was that? Hands up if you future paced and you put your boundary in place and you said no, or you told someone to piss off. How did you go? You can use that practice through each of your boundaries. See yourself practicing, being kind, respectful, loyal, communicating with yourself, and see yourself with others and practice those boundaries. And the more you do this, the better you'll become at it. Because when circumstances actually arise, you've been practicing. It's like a marathon. And you've got it. You'll be able to do it. It's like anything. It's like just preparing yourself with all these new values and all these new boundaries. So give me a high five. How was that? Pretty cool. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Cool. All right. Nice deep breath as we move on. So my promise to you was that by the end of the training, I would show you how to discover and elicit your values, uncover your self-worth, and create healthy boundaries that align with manifesting what matters most to you without the guilt, so that you can feel empowered, inspired, and able to tackle your life's goal. How to determine your values so you can stop doubting yourself, trust your intuition, and finally feel confident, inspired, and in control of your life. You've learned a simple way to get off the people-pleasing train, to define your values, and the secret sauce to finally being able to feel confident about trusting your intuitive thoughts and feelings and emotion to uncover what matters the most to you. So how did you go? You're going to put your hands down. Did you get all of that? Hands up. Show me the love. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, that's good to see, because remember, you're going to get your one-on-one call with me if you book it, and that's something I can't do for you. That's something you have to do for yourself. So let's recap. We discovered your top 5 life values. Remember, there are other categories available when you do your free download at the end. You practiced a mindfulness trance to help you enter that intuitive mind, really homing in on that. We elicited your life values to manifest the ones that matter most, the top 5. We used your top life values to create healthy boundaries. You discovered a practice that supported you to create change from your past to manifest a healthier, happier future for what matters most to you. And we future-paced your new healthy values and boundaries to build up even more strength and resilience and power behind them to create sustainability. And you possibly discovered a whole lot more out about yourself as well. So that was pretty cool. There was a lot in that. If you're feeling a bit brain dead and tired, I totally get it. So if you'd like me to help you discover more about your values and boundaries, these are some beautiful people that I've helped and supported in the past and still today, and you want to dive deeper, reach out. It's my absolute honor and privilege to be able to help so many women overcome this self-sabotaging behaviors, mind chatters, and beliefs, to inspire them to create that strength and empowerment to believe in themselves, respect themselves, and know their worth, to create those positive values and healthy, sustainable boundaries. So look, pop an emoji in the comments if you want more support, and I'll arrange a time for a chat, or you can jump online because the link is coming up. You showed up today because you're sick of trying things that don't work. You're getting tired of making excuses. You want time for yourself without feeling guilty. You want to stop trying to break through on your own and be free from feeling not validated. And you want freedom from people taking advantage of your good nature so that you can manifest more than what matters to you. So here it is. You stay till the end. If you move, there's going to be 2 phone calls, right? Because some of you may have got a little bit stuck more than others. So if you moved through okay and you're ready to elicit some more categories, let's do this. You stayed to the end so you can download your Prezi and book your call, book your one-on-one call with me, and we can dive deeper into another category. And it's free. So stop procrastinating, get some shit done for yourself, and make 2022 that year you invest in you, because what will happen if you don't? Yep, nothing will change. I'm putting the links in the comments. Here we go. Let me just copy this. Oh, that's not going to copy it. Hang on, let me do this. Copy link. This is to book your call. Okay. And this is to download the rest of your values. The links might work for you if you click on them now. So I want to copy that. This is a links for your workbook. So you can have them. So that's where you book the call to dive deeper into your values. If you really got stuck, as in super stuck, and couldn't move through parts of this, and you were unable to really dive deep or even get your head around the trance mindfulness, you could be blocked in other areas of your life. So please book a call so that we can walk through what else may be holding you back, because what you're doing today is module 5 of my online program. Okay, so we've skipped a bit, and that includes letting go of the baggage, which is something you might need to consider to move and shift before moving in this area. So this is where you book a gateway call, and let's chat about what's holding you back. That call's about 45 minutes to an hour, but we move through some questions and we can get to the root cause, and I can give you some more practices to move through those blockages. I'm just going to put that link here as well. Oh, where is it? Where does it end? I think that's where it ends. Okay, let me copy that. So just grab these links for yourself. Okay, so when you click on those links, it's going to bring up a screen like this. This is what it will look like. The most important thing is that I want you to change the time zone to your time zone, so that I'm not ringing you at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And we've got people from all over the world here. So click on your time zone and click your link. The schedule will then appear. And if you click on the links, you want the values call or the gateway call or what the hell, book one of each if you want to elicit some more and you want to find out more about root causes. Okay, so that's it for our masterclass tonight. I want to thank you. You don't have to do this on your own. If you've got stuck, reach out. Book either of the calls. I don't mind. We'll figure it out. Book both. They're free. There's only one of me. So please reach out if I can help you any further with anything. It's been absolutely amazing spending the last hour and a half with you guys. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support, your input. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for understanding more about your values, and thank you for creating healthy boundaries. You'll be sent a replay of the recording of the masterclass. If you've registered, you're automatically going to get a replay. So if there's anything that you'd like to retouch on, I'm just going to stop the share now. You've got your links. Here I am. I'm still here in one piece, and hopefully you guys are too. So thank you so much for joining tonight. I look forward to sharing some more time with you and sharing some time wherever in the group. We've got a training tomorrow morning as well. So that's it from me. Good night. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to stop the recording now, but I'll still hang out for a few more minutes if you have any questions that you'd like to ask.